Welcome to CWS Christian Writing and Speaking. I'm your host, Jackie Wilson, and today's guest is an author, speaker, and coach who focuses on centering prayer as a means of inner transformation. He teaches centering prayer in both his local and virtual community and offers one-on-one coaching. His newest book is titled Sitting with God, A Journey to Your True Self Through Centering Prayer. Let's welcome to the CWS stage, Mr. Rich Lewis. Welcome, Mr. Rich Lewis.
Thanks. Thanks for having me on. Hopefully our conversation will be very helpful for your community. So thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. So the thought of centering prayer, I think a lot of people have heard about this, but they don't know how exactly to do it or get into it. And I do want to talk about that a bit today. But before we go there, what is your story? What brought you to the point where you said, I need to start centering myself through prayer?
Sure. And prior to centering prayer, I guess I had learned about the power of, so I've been practicing centering prayer since started dabbling in it in late 2013 and then really seriously practicing it in 2014. So prior to that, I had been, this is probably in 2011, 2012, I had read books by a gentleman by the name of Carl McColman, and he talked a lot about contemplative prayer and how transforming sitting with God is and how powerful and healing it is. I don't remember him talking about a practice. So at that time, I would just sit in silence, but it was brutal and it was hard, and I would just do it for a minute or 2 minutes. I've actually since learned he does practice centering prayer. It's just from my recollection, I don't remember him mentioning that in his books. But in late 2013, I was simply perusing Amazon looking for a book to read, and I came across a book by Amos Smith called Healing the Divide, Recovering Christianity's Mystic Roots. So I purchased the Kindle version and began reading it. And in his book, he talked about a practice called centering prayer, which was silent, wordless prayer, sitting with God. And that he had been doing it for 15 years. So that immediately piqued my interest because I had been fascinated with silence and knew that in my prayer life, I lacked depth. I prayed and I read the Bible, but I thought that there was just more. There was more depth to God, and I could go deeper in my relationship with God. So I'm glad I found this book because he talked about a practice called centering prayer. So that immediately piqued my interest, and I began trying it for myself. And I began reading other people that had written books about centering prayer. And it was great because it just taught me how to sit in the silence with God and how to practice sitting with God. Because before that, I didn't know what I was doing. So I guess you can say Carl McColman piqued my interest in silence, and then Amos Smith, his book and the practice he had been doing for 15 years showed me how to sit in the silence. So I began trying it for myself and haven't looked back. And we'll talk about how you do it, but it's a practice that really resonated well with me. It made sitting with God in silence much easier for me, and I haven't looked back. So I'm glad I found this practice, and I've been at it since I guess June 1, 2014. And I don't know what's so magical about that date, but that's the day I decided I needed to stop dabbling and I need to take this practice seriously. So I decided to commit to practicing at least twice a day, once in the morning and then once another time. And I really haven't looked back. So that's a little bit of my backstory of how I found how I found centering prayer.
Yeah. So how has it helped you? Has it been healing? Has it been revitalizing?
Sure. There's a ton of fruits of the practice, and it's not, and we say fruits of the practice, it's really God is doing this because we're sitting with God. So the practice itself, if I think about who I was and how I was prior to centering prayer and who I am now, I'm different. I'm a much more confident person. So God has instilled a whole lot more confidence in me in various areas of my life as a father, as a worker at my day job, and then even the confidence to the practice of centering prayer spawned my website, Silence Teaches, and the one-on-one coaching that I do, and the speaking I do, and the podcasts that I do, and the book that I wrote, and the second book that I'm going to start writing. So all of these are inner nudges, from God. So a ton of confidence, an excitement for life. Not that I didn't want to live life, but an excitement for life that I didn't have before. Um, a willingness to be more patient with people and listen to people and give them the space they need instead of instantly reacting, and better learning how to let go of kind of the things we don't need to do in the present moment and hone in and focus on what we do need to do. And the last thing I'll say is, with the confidence, is I'm getting out of my comfort zone and trying and doing new things that previously would have scared the heck out of me. Mm-hmm. So God really has, when I say centering prayer, it's really God has instilled these fruits in me as I sit with God and trust God and then listen to God's inner nudges outside of the practice.
Yeah, I don't know anybody who wouldn't want more confidence. So just that fruit alone is a blessing. But you teach people actually how to do this. You're coaching people, and you also wrote a book. Can you tell us a little bit more?
Sure. Well, why don't we just quickly describe what is centering prayer, since I'm talking about it. So centering prayer has been around since the early 1970s. And it was actually created by 3 Trappist monks. So 3 Catholic priests at the time saw other forms of meditation happening, and they wanted something for the Christian community. And one of the priests, Father William Meninger, was reading a book called The Cloud of Unknowing, which was, I believe, a 12th century classic book. And as he read the book, kind of a method of silent prayer popped out of the pages. So he began working with the other priests, and they began doing it amongst clergy, and then they began really rolling it out to the masses, the public. And then about 10 years later, they created a site, or Thomas Keating, one of them, created a site called Contemplative Outreach, and it's contemplativeoutreach.org. And it's really the main centering prayer organization. And if you go there, you'll see a ton of resources. You'll see groups that practice either in a building or on Zoom, and you'll see events. And you'll see that it's also international. So there's groups all over the world, not just in the US. So that's a little bit about centering prayer. And then do you want me to get into real quickly how you do it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Sure. So centering prayer really is considered 2 things. It is considered meditation, but it's more than meditation. It's really a relationship with God. Because during centering prayer, we believe we're opening to the presence and actions of God within us. So we don't believe we're God, but we believe there's the divine images within us waiting to be expressed in the world. So during centering prayer, to do a silent sit, you sit comfortably with your eyes closed. And then to begin your silent sit, you interiorly introduce what we call a sacred word. And it could be 1, 2, or 3 syllables. So it could be God, it could be Jesus, it could be a color, it could be beach. And that just signifies you're beginning your prayer time and you're opening to the presence and actions of God within. Mm-hmm. And then as you're sitting there, when you begin engaging your thoughts, and what I mean by that is when you begin thinking about all the things you did before your sit, or you begin thinking about the errands or responsibilities you have after your sit, you realize you're now really engaging your thoughts, and you're really not sitting with God in the present moment. You're sitting with you, and you're planning and plotting. So that at that point, you reintroduce the sacred word to let go of these engaged thoughts and come back to the present moment. And then you let go of the sacred word. And you just do that when needed during your silent sit, however long you've chosen to sit, whether it's 5 minutes or 10 minutes or 20 minutes. And it's not used as a mantra, repeating it over and over again. It's just used when needed to remind yourself to let go of these thoughts and come back to the purpose of your sit, of just sitting with God and opening to God's presence within and letting go of you and all your planning and plotting. So that's basically how you do the centering, how you do a centering prayer sit as well.
And you share this methodology within your book, right?
Yes.
And can you tell us a little bit more about the book and what you hope people will get out of it?
Sure. So the book, really a couple things. One, just to teach people what centering prayer is and how you do it. And then the book also is just shares my story and how it has healed and transformed me. So really my hopes are is this book is really for anybody new to the idea of this type of practice. But I also talk about how to deepen your practice if you're an existing practitioner. Mm-hmm. So really the purpose of the book is to share what is centering prayer, to share how it has healed and transformed me, and can hopefully do the same for you. And I simply encourage people to try it and see if it can help them as a practice, and if it can help connect them to their true self, which I believe is the person God wants them to be.
Mhm.
And that your true self is really a moving target. Your true self could be what do I need to do today? And what does God want me to do today? And your true self also is a future true self. What are the things God wants me to do in the future and trust him with that maybe scare the heck out of me,
Yeah.
but that they're nudges and I really need to start taking some action on them.
Yeah. And I think that's important that you said the things that scare the heck out of us, because there are so many things as we move beyond those comfort zones that we're like, am I really able to do this? You know, Lord, are you really calling? You may even have questions. Are you really calling me to do this? Am I the one that should be doing this? But I love going back to your first statement about God giving you the confidence that you need as you do centering prayer. I think it's so important because so as he's moving you and you practice this, you're growing, you're becoming more fruitful, and then you're able to confidently take on whatever challenge he's putting before you. So let me ask you this, Rich, what is next for you? Because you're coaching, you've written a book, you're working on a second book, right?
Yeah, I guess what's next for me really is to get started on the second book. Is definitely next for me. Coaching, I love coaching people. There's nothing there where I feel better where I'm done the coaching session, and it's just so rewarding to listen to people and know that you've helped them. So the book is definitely a second book is definitely next. To continue coaching and working with people is will continue, just because I just love helping other people, and I love like I have one client that I've had for over 2 years, and we meet once a month, and at the end of each session, he's always saying how wonderful the sessions are and how much he gets out of them. And it's really him just trusting himself, me listening, me asking him questions, me pushing and nudging him, but him continuing to move forward. So coaching, I'll continue. And then just to continue speaking in front of small and large groups, and taking advantage of any opportunities that come my way. For example, in January, I was asked to speak at a Centering Prayer Summit. And I was nervous, but then I thought, no, I took a step back and said, let's not be nervous about this. You know, I'm used to speaking in front of small groups of 5 and 10 and maybe 20. This was 400 people. And I thought it's really no different. It's a Zoom weekend session. I'm going to come in during a time slot and speak for an hour, answer questions, and then they're going to move to the next presenter. So it just scared me initially when it was like 400 people are going to listen to me. But then I realized, well, it's no different than 10 people listening to me. So I think I want to continue doing speaking engagements like that as they present themselves, even if they're in front of large groups. So really the coaching, the second book, and then continue getting in front of groups and sharing this practice and how it has healed and transformed me, and can do the same for you.
Yeah, I like it. Now tell people how they can connect with you.
Sure. The best place to find me is my website, silenceteaches.com. And when they come there, if they subscribed, I have a free ebook on centering prayer that only takes 5 minutes or so to get through. So silenceteaches.com. Check out my free ebook and see if this is a practice that would resonate with you. And then if they want further information, there's information about my speaking, about coaching, and about my book on my website as well.
Yeah, wonderful. Now, Rich, before we end today's video, what is the one thing that you hope that people will take from today's interview?
I would say that the power of silence and sitting with God. So I would simply encourage people to try a practice such as centering prayer, commit to 30 days, first thing in the morning before you do anything, and even just 1 to 5 minutes. So I would just challenge people to take a daily dose of silence, of sitting with God, first thing in the morning for 30 days, and see what happens.
All right. Thank you so much, Rich, for just sharing your story and how you're transforming people's lives through your work. CWS audience, he has given you a challenge. I believe all of us can do it. 30 days, 1 to 5 minutes. Take some time, sit down in silence with God, center yourself, and get some of that confidence that he was able to get in all those other fruits. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. And until next time, beautiful people, God bless.